Quant's price is likely to continue to crash towards $50. We want to pay special attention to the momentum position because that will give us a big clue on what's likely to happen next. So we're going to do a deep dive into Quant. If you like today's video, like, subscribe, hit the bell notification. Let's dive straight into the technicals. We have the price data of Quant on a daily chart, and I've just taken a screenshot on the top left of what the last video on October 25th was that we did. And what we said was if the price goes below this point over here, we're likely to see this very aggressive follow through to the downside. And now we're going to do an update. I've just taken the data back for a few days, well, effectively a month. So let's just unfold the data. But I also want you to pay special attention to the momentum position. This is a brand new dashboard that I've created that helps us see at a glance the higher degree, which is the bigger trend momentum, which we're calling the weekly, and then the smaller degree immediate momentum as well. And we always want to be going in the direction of the larger trend. So right now, the larger trend is the weekly chart. So let's just unfold this data and just get Quant up to date. So the price over here, it literally unfolded. And as of November 9th, we had the price close, and this was a very key point, into this range over here. That tells us that this is likely to be a top and that this correction is going to hold and that this low is likely to get broken at some point in the near future. So let's just unfold this data all the way up to today, and then I'm going to give you an update on what's very likely to happen next with Quant. So this is where we are as we speak. So now what we're going to do is we're going to update this. We're going to update this because there's a couple of things we want to look at over here that's going to be really, really powerful for us. The first thing is the trend is your friend. Ride it until its end, until it reaches its bend. Now, what we're looking at, Quant is a strong fundamental project, no doubt about it, right? No doubt about it, and we can talk about that till the cows come home. However, what drives immediate price action, less than 12 months, is speculation, fear and greed, buying and selling behavior based on crowd psychology, and that's what we're looking at over here. And what we said, literally, that's why I took a screenshot of it, on October 25th, is we had something called a bearish divergence on a weekly chart, which is basically the higher degree time frame pointing down, which told us we're likely to be down for around 3, 4, 5 weeks. That's exactly what's happened. And you can go back and watch the October 25th video. But the key point is what we said in that video was if we break this point over here and close below it, this can no longer be a wave one, because I use something called Elliott wave theory. And Elliott wave theory, something Ralph Nelson Elliott figured out in the 1800s, 1900s, with all markets where there's crowds participating, is there's buying and selling behavior. And if certain things happen, then it would indicate the crowd is feeling a certain way, which will indicate what they're likely to do next as a whole, as a mass herd psychology, because individuals are hard to predict, but crowds are relatively obvious. And that's what he figured out. And that's what this rule is. Wave 4, if this was an ABC of a wave 4 and we're going to get a continuation, we should not have broken this point down here, but we have. So that's a big, big clue that there's a lot of weakness in Quant in terms of the selling pressure is going to be quite high. We've had quite an impulsive move to the downside. We're going to look at this point here, what's likely to occur over the next 7 days and why, and then what's likely to happen next and then next, right? So we're going to look at pretty short term, medium term, and longer term as well. So the first thing we want to pay attention to at the bottom is the momentum, right? So momentum. So now we're up to date with the data. So I've created something called the trend dashboard. This is my 15 years of trading experience put into a simple dashboard. And here it now says that the weekly has a strong bull trend. You go, well, hang on, Jagir. Saying that the weekly has a strong bull trend, how can we be anticipating the price to go down? Well, there's normally different waves within the waves or trends within the trends. You got your macro trend, you got your intermediate trend, and then you got your micro trend. And the ideal is when the bigger trend and the smaller trend is pointing in the same direction. But right now they're pointing in opposite directions. So I'm just going to pop out of this chart. And by the way, this trend dashboard is a game changer. I built training around it. You can now actually trial it for £1 for 30 days. And that is £9.97 thereafter. Check it out. I think it will be a massive tool for you in your trading arsenal, and you get a lot of other goodies as well. But in the video, it's in the link below. I just explain what it does, how to use it, and then it's £1. Test it out for 30 days. There's different ways you can use it. Very, very powerful indeed. So what we're going to do now is we're going to just dive out of this chart, and I'm going to go into the top left-hand corner chart, which is the weekly chart. And what we said in our last video, and I want to really make this point really clear, because if you go back and watch it, it's on the October 25th video. It's this video over here, this one up here in the top left, this one, Quant to 4 below $150. It's around a month ago. Check it out, because we covered this, and it's just been textbook since that date as well. So what I want to show you here is these points. So look at the momentum on the weekly. Blue line goes below the red, and it marries up pretty tight with the tops. And this was a massive clue for us over here and over here, right? That was a big clue that this was lining up, that we're very highly probable going to get sideways to down for a few weeks, right? So we want to keep it logical, objective as much as we can, especially when there's so much FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, FTX, bankruptcy, Alameda, then Solana's price crashing, there's this, there's that, and it's all over the news. But ultimately, all of that is baked in on how the crowd is feeling, how the big boys, the small players, everyone is feeling, and that's what we're looking at right now. And what this told us ahead of time, a month ago, was this over here and this over here was a bearish divergence. In other words, the momentum crossover was lower, as in this one was lower than this one, but the price was much higher, right? This is a big clue. That's why I love technicals, because it tells you a lot of fundamental information on how the crowd is feeling. And it told me, right, when that happens, when we get something called a bearish divergence, you normally get a big sell-off. And that's what we got. We got a nice big sell-off. But the key point was, if we cross into the zone, into this wave price zone over here, that tells us that this high is likely to hold, and we're probably going to get a continuation below this low. That's what we're talking about over here. So now let's just go back into the daily chart, because I'm getting a bit intricate now, because what we can actually change this now. We can actually go, rather than saying a 10A, 2OB, we can actually, because we've got confirmation now, we can actually say this is a wave A, a wave B, and a wave C. Now, it might turn out to be some type of more complex correction, but let's just make it a primary count so it's really, really clear. But that's an ABC correction. Now, what usually happens, I can get rid of this now. What usually happens after an ABC correction is a continuation of the former trend. Now, the continuation of the former trend, well, this is the former trend, right? Down, right? So what's likely to happen? If we just took our biases aside and said, look, whether you love Quant, hate Quant, don't care about Quant, and you just want to make money, doesn't matter. The crowd is going to do what the crowd is going to do, and it's your job to be in line with that trend. So if you're hodling long term and you're dollar cost averaging, just know you might get a better opportunity in the coming weeks rather than right now. So this is what this low is likely to break eventually, right? Likely to break. Again, another thing I just wanted to quickly cover was the immediate momentum on the weekly, right? So right now on the weekly momentum, when this blue line crossed over the red, it married up quite nicely. Blue line over the red, it married up quite nicely. And then recently, blue line over the red, it married up quite nicely. So we're actually likely to see some movement to the downside in the immediate week, and then some type of movement to the upside. And this is what I'm going to show you. We're gonna probably see a movement down, some type of correction, and then a continuation. And that's what I really want to get across today, because there's going to be two time frames we're looking at. We're looking at the weekly, what's likely to happen over the next 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, but then what's likely to happen over the next 7 days, immediate trend, right? And hopefully this will make sense. So daily chart. By the way, you can also download this chart for free. Is in the description link below. You can download all my charts. So when I finish today, I'll make sure I save this. I'll save it right now. So you've got the chart set up, and then you can look at it and download it and upload it yourself to do as you please with this. So what we're going to look at now is, if you look at the trend dashboard in the bottom right hand corner, what does it tell us on the daily chart, which is what we're looking at right now? It says the daily chart, which is the smaller trend, is a strong bear downtrend. So I've programmed this all in. So it tells us that the immediate momentum is pointing down, right? So the next bullish reversal is going to coincide with the weekly, right? So right now the weekly is pointing up and the daily is pointing down. Then eventually the daily will point up, and then we're going to get some type of movement to the upside, but we're going to see what type of movement is that likely to be. So this is going to be very, very, especially if you're trading quant, but even if you're just hodling quant, this is going to be powerful. So I'm just going to move these lines, and I'm going to show you how you can really read the psychology of the market in an objective, mechanical, non-emotional way. So what this looks like to me over here is a clear wave 4. These are overlapping waves. So this is a clear wave 4. And at the end of a wave 4, especially that we've got an immediate trend pointing down, we're probably going to get a continuation for a final wave 5 to finish off what looks like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we want to be on a high alert for this 5, because then we're likely to get some type of ABC correction in line with the weekly momentum. But we want to know, when you get a correction, it means that this top over here is unlikely to get exceeded. If it does, we need to reevaluate, but it's unlikely. In terms of the business that we're in, is the probability business. We get this edge in our favor, and then we trade that edge consistently, and we become the casino. Becoming the casino means the house always wins. And in this case, you are the house. That's what we're aiming for. So let's just do some wave 4 analysis. So we don't need to get overly anal with the intermediate wave counts or the smaller wave counts. What we want to know is when a swing low is exceeded. This is the obvious one here. I'm just going to I'll make it red just so it stands out from the other one. And if this swing low, and it's more likely to be a win, when this swing low is exceeded, let's keep it as an if, because it is probabilities, right? If it's exceeded, then this wave 4 top is confirmed, and we're probably going to get the end of the wave 5. But the immediate position is we're likely to see that occur. But let's just do some wave 4 analysis. Wave 4, if we measure wave 3, wave 4s are typically 38.2% of wave 3. You go, what does that mean, Jagir? Well, let me show you. Let's just see where it's at. This is 38.2%, and it's just tagged that. So these are 2 typical ranges. I'm actually going to get rid of this line now, because it served its purpose, right? So we know we've crossed over in the previous wave structure, which tells us we're likely to get continuation to the downside. This is impulsive. This is impulsive to the downside, right? It's quite clear. Whereas this is corrective, overlapping waves, which is typical of a wave 4. So now we're probably going to get some type of continuation to the downside. So what we're going to do is this, just to give you a bit of an indication of the short, medium, and longer term momentum and pattern position of quant. What's likely to happen, in other words, is what we can do is, in fact, let's just keep it like this. I'm just going to clean it up. Let me just keep it like this. We don't need this right. All right, we can do a few other things, but I'm going to keep it quite simple. All we know is the immediate momentum is down. The pattern position indicates down. Just 2 things. We can look at price, which is 38.2%, which has been hit. So that's 3 things telling us we're likely to be sideways to down for the next 7 days. Right? That's pretty clear. So what I want to do is, I'm just thinking, this is what I want to do. I'm going to show you. We can do a little bit of forecasting, right? I know some people love it, hate it. It just is what it is. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a question mark here that just reminds us that the wave 4 has not been confirmed yet. And we'll keep it the same color as that over here, blue. In fact, we'll make it a bit bigger. All right, so this is just telling us the wave 4 has not been confirmed. The ultimate confirmation is when it goes below this point over here. All right, this point, let's see if it gets it. Boom. This will be an earlier indication. And if you're shorting it, then you'll probably put your entry on a swing low, something like this. Right, so this will be the confirmation where we can remove the question mark. So what I'm going to finish on here, on this part, is an end of wave 5 targets for quant. In other words, if quant is to continue, where is the likely price zone is going to continue to, if this is the top. And we might be making one more top over here, but let's just assume this is the top over here. Hence we've got the question mark, and we can just work with that for a minute to give us an indication. So it gives us an indicative feel of what's likely to occur. So I'm going to do something called an external retracement. I'm going to do this quite fast, just so I can give you some price targets. And I'm going to do some end of wave 5 targets. By the way, I have advanced training that shows you how to do all of this step by step. Once you join my private community, download the charts, and there'll be a few things that you can do. I just want to do this price target. There's a very, very powerful ratio that is really reliable. We measure beginning of wave 1, end of wave 3, project it from wave 4. And the key 3 ratio is really 2 ratios, 38 to 62%, right? And we're looking for a cluster. And what we can see is that this is clustering over this zone over here, whereas the other price target is way down over here, right? So we just want to be aware of that. So we're likely to see Quant go into the immediate range of this zone over here, which is roughly $82 to around $70. But then you might ask the question, like, hang on, Jiggy, at the beginning you said Quant's likely to crash towards $50. What's up with that? I go, great question. So let's look at that, because now we're going to just go on the macro in terms of this is the immediate. We're very likely to see this happening because we've got our momentum, pattern, and price indicating this. But then the weekly momentum is up, and when the daily momentum coincides with the weekly, we're probably going to get some type of movement to the upside. And this is just typical buying and selling behavior. And what I'm going to show you now, just blow your mind. Okay, I'm forecasting here, right? So we don't know if this is going to happen because we're literally looking into the future. But you can only make money if you make decisions today based on what you think is going to happen in the future. But you just have tight money management, risk what you can, well, technically is risk what you can afford to lose to find out if you're right. If you're trading, then it's 2% or 3% or 1% that you're risking of your entire account size to find out if you're right. And if you're right, you make money. If you're not, you take a small loss and then you just reevaluate. But remember, with a casino, the casino doesn't win every bet. It has a 4% edge. And it ultimately wins 4% over the market, over the players, over the gamblers. So you don't want to be on the gambling side. You want to be on the casino side where you are the casino. So when this over here, down here in the bottom right-hand corner, when the daily momentum says oversold, and then it will say bull, as in there'll be a bullish reversal. We can also use, by the way, when you get the dashboard, there's an extra filter that I've added as well. And it looks like this. It's this over here. And on the chart itself, I just want to make sure it's set. You'll get buy and sell signals. And the buy and sell signals on the chart itself are literally basically what this tells you to do here is it's indicated on this as well. So you'll get these nice signals that gives you a heads up. So look at this top, right? You can see that signal really coincided with the top. That's when the weekly and the daily marry up, and right, you got pattern, price, you got divergence, and a few other things, and then the price continues down. There's a few other sell signals that coincided with pattern and price down, and so on and so forth. So, by the way, if you want that, it's £1 trial. It's the dashboard and the signals you get and the training. I'll show you how to use it. It's my 15 years of experience where I've just coded it in to get my thinking and logic, where you always want to be going in the direction of the trend, and the dashboard is designed to help you identify the trend in a logical, mechanical, non-emotional way. Because otherwise, sometimes it's just difficult, right? I found people just find it difficult. So it just tells you it's a strong bull-up trend on the bigger degree, strong bear trend on the immediate degree, what to do. Well, it's stand aside, but you can do some other cool things as well. I'll show you actually. Let me show you this. What you can do, if you wanted to short this, is you can double click on your dashboard and you can actually change the time frame. You can say, I actually want to look at it. In fact, let's do it like this. I'll show you that like this. You can add a second dashboard and say, actually, I want to look at a daily and an hourly chart. I'm more of a short-term trader. So now what you'll see on the bottom, what it says, if I can just minimize this a bit more, just squeeze it in. And this is designed to help you make business decisions. It says, right, when you're looking at Quant, as the daily as the bigger trend and the hourly as the smaller trend, you can go, right, there's a strong downtrend and the smaller trend is now oversold. You can see it just changed, right? A second ago. Why? Because it's live. It's literally live. So if we go into an hourly chart, and we'll keep it on this time frame. And what's very cool about this, the way we designed it to help you, if I even just take the data back a few bars, and what you'll see is right now it says consider selling because the momentum position is in play. And as I unfold, it says right now At this point, you should consider selling because we've had this initial move down and this looks corrective, right? So where would you sell? Well, something like, on a swing low, where would you put your stop loss? Possibly above here, or if you're a bit more aggressive, above here. And then does it get triggered? Then I'll just unfold a few more bars. But you see that the dashboard gives you live information. It just tells you what the score is based on momentum. Hasn't got triggered on that swing low. And again, put your order back in and so on and so forth. So that's how that works. But again, there's a whole training on that with the £1 trial. So we'll just get rid of this for a second. We'll just go back here. So we've got the daily. All right, so we've got all of this. All right, I'm just going to get rid of this for a second now. And I'm going to finish up on what's very likely to occur and why I said $50. $50 is not going to be immediate. It's more likely to be more towards, well, it could overextend, right? Towards $70, maybe overextending towards $50. But what's likely to happen, highly probable, and I do mean highly probable, because we've got a few things telling us the same thing. And that's referred to as a confluence of events, right? So what are we looking at over here? Well, after a 5-wave move to the downside, let's just say it's going to happen like this. Let's just, we're guessing here because it's forecasting. But what's likely to occur is some type of movement to the upside because the weekly momentum is up. And you go, well, how can the price move against the trend? Well, there's immediate trends and there's intermediate trends and there's macro minor trends, etc., etc. But what typically happens after a 5-wave move down, 1, 2, 3, 4, and this potential 5 to the downside, was some type of ABC correction to the upside. So what we can do is we can anticipate that. Now, again, I'm going a bit ahead of myself just because I'm very experienced at doing this. But we have to make a bit of speculation on, all right, let's just say wave 5 ended over here and we had some type of reversal. Where would a typical ABC correction, what would look something like this, some type of A, B, C correction. This is most common and most typical. If I just want to change it to blue and to intermediate so we can just have it the same. So when I save this chart for you, I'll leave these details on just so it's as clear as I can make it. I just want to make this a bit thinner as well, just so it matches the other. All right, perfect. All right, so let's just wrap up on this. So most corrections, ABCs, do a minimum of a 50% retracement. So we can actually measure that, right? So we just measure the price high to low and then do a retracement, which retraces the price back up, right? So what that looks like, again, if you're new to this kind of stuff, I have training that shows you how to do this. And we also have a service where we do this for you, right? We work with a regulated licensed exchange that we can do this for you, done for you service that we have. So what we have now is this price movement to the upside. Price movement to the upside, this is the zone that we're anticipating. We can also do some Fibonacci time projections. How long does it typically take for a correction? Again, I have the correction, the 5-way move to the downside hasn't been complete yet, so we don't know. But just to give you some kind of ballpark of what's likely to occur, is something like this. Something like this that we're likely to see a 5-wave move finish the immediate downside, this low to get exceeded towards this zone down here. We're then likely to get some type of correction. But don't be too fooled if everything is hanging together like this and it's below the price of like $200, especially if you only get 3 waves to the upside, it's likely that this is just a correction. But it might go on for a few weeks. Why? Because the immediate weekly momentum is bullish, right? But it's like, what should we anticipate? So there might be some opportunities to do some short-term trading on this wave, and especially this wave, especially if this is clear, right? Because you can make money long in the market and short in the market as well. But the key thing I wanted to kind of really get home today was we want to be on high alert what everything looks like at this point, if this occurs. Because if the weekly momentum is then bearish, and then we get the daily bearish, and our dashboard is telling us when this is bearish and this is bearish, like we saw over here, where we've got this move to the downside, then we're probably going to get some type of continuation to the downside. And that's really, really relevant and important to know because, yeah, if that occurs, we're going to be on high alert as well for this high, because if this high doesn't get exceeded up here, then that's also going to be very, very important for us. So today was quite detailed with Quant, but it's the name of the game. We did a video on October 25th that we saw. We now got a very clean update of what's likely to occur with Quant, and just that we're all on the same page is, let me just finish on, like, really, really kind of make it crystal clear, is immediate downside is likely to be something like this. Then we're more than likely going to get some type of correction lasting a few weeks. Again, we're talking about, I'm forecasting here because I haven't got the closed data yet. We're talking about the end of the year to mid-January, right? So we're not talking about overnight. But then ultimately what we're talking about is possibly a continuation to break this low over here and break the $50 mark and have a continuation of the former trend. And if that occurs, we can make some good money short in the market. We can make some business decisions. But the real thing, the immediate lesson or the take home for today is be on high alert of this. If and when this occurs, to be on high alert, and then to know what would indicate that it is going to go down, or if it is going to void the wave count, something different is going to happen. So we always got the edge in our favor. So there you have it. So check out the dashboard. I'm telling you, you'll love it. We made it very affordable for you to test out. 30 days, £1 trial. It's just phenomenal. It's taking some really, really hard work and creative thinking to make it as simple as possible, so it's as useful as possible. And it's £1 trend identifier. You can add multiple assets. You can look at them in different ways. We're constantly doing updates as we're taking more and more feedback to make it more and more powerful for you to utilize. So what do you think? Quant to crash? What do you think? Do you think, the fundamentals are going to override? I know it's a very strong project. I know it's doing some phenomenal stuff from a technology point of view, but that's not what drives price. What drives price is crowd psychology. People literally buying and selling, and that's what moves the market as well. So if you like today's video, like, subscribe, hit the bell notification. If you know anyone that is holding Quant, make sure they get to see this. Let's finish on a quote of today from my book. Chapter number 8. Henry Ford, it's one of my favorites. It has been my observation that most people get ahead during the time that others waste. The bear market is one of the best times to be building the technology, understanding the markets, training. So when the bull market hits, and it's going to hit, it's not a case of if, it's more of a when. When it hits and the euphoria hits and prices are pumping and you're making 3x's, 5x's, 10x's, and so on and so forth, you want to be prepared to read the market so you can get a good feel of when you should be taking profits, when you should be shorting, when you should be standing aside, and just having your business plan in play so you can make that financial difference to yourself and taking as much from the market in a logical, safe way where you can manage your risk all the way through. So Quant, let's keep a close eye on it. We'll see how it unfolds over the coming weeks, but let me know what you think in the comments below. See you soon.